You think there's a perfect question that will make a woman open up, lean in, and never reject you, but there isn't. You think the secret is hidden in some dark psychological trick, but the truth is darker than that. The thing getting you rejected is not your question. It's the man asking it. You've been sold a fantasy? You've been told that if you just find the right words, the right timing, the right angle, the right emotional trigger, you can bypass awkwardness, bypass uncertainty, bypass the possibility of hearing no. And that fantasy is seductive because it promises you power without risk. It promises intimacy without vulnerability. It promises results without character. But life does not work that way, and women do not work that way. Real attraction is not something you extract with wording. Real intimacy is not something you unlock with a code. If you're still looking for a sentence to save you from rejection, then you are already moving from weakness. And if you need this kind of truth in your ear on a regular basis, subscribe now, not because anyone needs a number on a screen, but because you need reminders. You need repetition. You need clarity strong enough to cut through the garbage you've been fed by desperate men teaching other desperate men how to act confident while staying terrified underneath. Here's what it really means. The right question is never about controlling her answer. The right question is about revealing reality. That is the thesis. That is the whole game. Not control. Clarity. Not manipulation. Alignment. Not how do I get intimacy without rejection, but how do I become the kind of man who can ask for truth without flinching from it? That is the shift. That is where your power comes back. The misconception is simple. You think rejection happens because you didn't phrase it well enough. You think if you were smoother, more mysterious, more strategic, more emotionally clever, she would feel safer, more drawn in, more ready. But the hard truth is this: most rejection is not a reaction to your line. It is a reaction to your energy. She hears the words yes, but she feels the pressure under them. She feels whether you are present or performing. She feels whether you are grounded or grasping. She feels whether you are inviting connection or begging for validation in disguise. That difference is everything. You can say the cleanest sentence in the world with a needy frame, and it lands wrong. You can ask a simple, direct question with calm certainty, and it lands right. Why? Because words carry the weight of the man behind them. Always. If your question is loaded with fear, fear speaks first. If your question is loaded with hunger, hunger speaks first. If your question is loaded with, please let this work because I need this to mean something about me, then that need enters the room before your voice even finishes the sentence. That's called emotional leakage. And women are not confused by it nearly as often as men hope they are. So why does this happen? Why do you obsess over phrasing instead of presence? Because you are not afraid of getting the wrong answer. You are afraid of what the answer will say about you. That is the root. That is the wound. You don't hear rejection as information. You hear rejection as identity. You hear you are not enough. You hear you are not chosen. You hear you do not matter. So instead of building the strength to face truth, you go looking for strategies that help you avoid feeling exposed. You don't want clarity. You want cover. That's called self-protection masquerading as game. And once you start moving like that, everything gets distorted. You stop being direct. You stop being calm. You stop asking because you want to know, and you start asking because you want to steer. You start overthinking every text, every pause, every look, every delay, every laugh, every touch. You become a reaction manager. You become a collector of signs. You become a man who no longer knows how to stand still in his own body because his whole nervous system is hanging on someone else's response. You stop leading. You stop listening. You stop trusting clean honesty. You stop acting like a man with standards and start acting like a man hoping to be approved. And that costs you more than you realize. It costs you attraction because pressure kills polarity. It costs you dignity because every manipulative move is a small betrayal of your own self-respect. It costs you time because you stay in ambiguity, hoping to engineer a yes from a situation that should have been clarified weeks earlier. It costs you peace because your mind becomes a courtroom where every interaction gets put on trial. It costs you identity because the more you rely on tactics, the less you trust your own presence. And even if you get the results sometimes, you still lose. Why? Because if you had to manipulate your way into closeness, you never actually get to feel chosen. You just feel effective. And effective is not the same as respected. Effective is not the same as desired. Effective is not the same as loved. So reframe the entire thing. The goal is not to ask a woman questions for intimacy without rejection. The goal is to become a man who values truth more than fantasy, clarity more than control, alignment more than access. Intimacy is not something you pull out of her. Intimacy is something both people enter when honesty is safe enough to exist. That is a completely different frame. One frame says, how do I get what I want? The other asks, is there real mutual desire here, and do I have the strength to find out cleanly? One is extraction. One is revelation. That is why the best questions are never tricks. They are not traps. They are not bait. They are not coded lines designed to lower resistance. They are honest doorways. They help you see if the connection has depth, if the timing is real, if the comfort is mutual, if the chemistry is grounded, if the pace is aligned. Questions like, what makes you feel genuinely close to someone? Questions like, what helps you trust a man? Questions like, do you prefer directness or do you take longer to open up? Questions like, what kind of connection are you actually open to right now? Questions like, do you feel comfortable with where this is going? Not because those are magic words. They are not. But because they invite truth. And a man with self-respect does not fear truth. Read that carefully in your own mind. A man with self-respect does not fear truth. Most men can ask a question. Very few can handle the answer. That is the real separation. That is where boys get exposed and men get built. Can you hear a woman say she likes you but is not ready and remain centered? Can you hear her say she is unsure and not scramble to sell yourself harder? Can you hear no and not become colder, smaller, faker, or more aggressive? That's the test. Not whether you can trigger a feeling, whether you can hold reality. That's called masculine stability. The man who wins here is not the slickest man in the room. He is not the most rehearsed. He is not the one with the most seductive vocabulary or the deepest voice or the most calculated pauses. He is the clearest. He is the one who wants what he wants without being owned by it. He is the one who can feel desire without turning into desperation. He is the one who can lead without controlling. He is the one who can ask without pleading. He is the one who can walk away without collapsing. That man is rare because he has done the work most men avoid. Picture him clearly. He is not frantic. He is not scanning for signs every second. He is not trying to become whatever she will like. He has a life that exists before she arrives and continues if she leaves. He has purpose. He has discipline. He has standards. He does not make women his religion because he already has a direction. He is warm but not weak, attentive but not thirsty, direct but not crude, calm but not passive. He listens because he is secure enough not to perform. He asks real questions because he does not need fake mystery to feel masculine. He does not talk himself into places he is not truly invited. He does not negotiate for crumbs. He does not beg reality to change just because his ego wants a different answer. He knows something most men do not know. Boundaries are attractive because boundaries reveal self-respect. He knows patience is powerful when it comes from abundance, not fear. He knows silence can say more than another paragraph of over-explaining. He knows presence beats persuasion. He knows that when a woman feels no hidden pressure in him, she relaxes. And when she relaxes, truth appears faster. Not because he tricked her, but because she can feel he is safe with himself. Now let's cut deeper. A lot of you say you want intimacy, but what you actually want is relief. Relief from loneliness. Relief from sexual tension. Relief from your own self-doubt. Relief from the ache of not being chosen. So when you talk to a woman, you are not just talking to her. You are dragging your whole emotional hunger into the room and asking her to solve it. That is too much weight. That is too much pressure. That is too much demand for any healthy dynamic. She can feel it. She may not describe it perfectly, but she feels it. She feels when your attention is clean, and she feels when your attention is loaded. She feels when your desire is grounded, and she feels when your desire is trying to feed on her response. That's why some men say all the right things and still get nowhere. The words are polished. The energy is begging. So stop hiding inside complexity. Stop calling manipulation intelligence. Stop dressing insecurity up as strategy. Stop looking for dark psychology when what you really need is light on your own patterns. Stop pretending your problem is tactical when your problem is internal. The issue is not that you don't know enough lines. The issue is that you still don't trust yourself enough to be real. Here is what to do instead. First, check your state before you speak. Not her state, yours. Slow down. Get honest. Are you calm or are you chasing? Are you curious or are you trying to force a path? Are you ready to hear the truth or are you attached to one specific answer? If you are attached, do not move yet. Regulate first. Breathe. Relax your body. Stop rehearsing. Drop the need to win the moment. Because if you cannot handle the answer, you are not ready to ask the question. Second, simplify your communication. Stop building castles of implication. Stop speaking in coded language so you can deny what you meant later. That's weakness. Say less. Mean more. If you feel attraction, own it. If you want clarity, ask for clarity. If the energy feels deeper, acknowledge it. If the pace feels off, name it. Not dramatically. Not intensely. Cleanly. Directly. Calmly. There is strength in a simple truth delivered without tremble. Third, ask questions that open a door instead of backing her into a corner. Ask what closeness means to her. Ask what makes her feel emotionally safe. Ask what turns her off. Ask whether she likes directness. Ask what she is honestly available for right now. Ask whether she feels good about where things are heading. These questions do not trap her. They reveal her. And they reveal you because the way you hear the answer shows the quality of your character. Fourth, listen without turning her words into a problem you need to solve. If she says she moves slowly, hear the truth. If she says she is unsure, hear the truth. If she says she enjoys your company but does not feel that pull, hear the truth. Do not argue with reality. Reality always wins. The longer you resist it, the more self-respect you bleed. Fifth, respond like a man. If the answer is yes, great. Stay grounded. Do not get intoxicated and abandon your standards. If the answer is maybe do not become a salesman, maybe is not your cue to perform harder, it is your cue to observe. If the answer is no, do not break. Do not persuade. Do not punish. Do not shrink. Do not pretend you never meant it. Do not become sarcastic to protect your ego. Just hold the frame. I appreciate the honesty. That's enough. That is composure. That is power. You need to understand what not to do. Do not over-explain your intentions for 5 minutes like a nervous lawyer presenting a case. Do not flood the space with compliments to soften the ask. Do not use fake detachment to look cool. Do not play the I'm just curious game when your intentions are obvious. Do not punish clarity by withdrawing with bitterness. Do not take one woman's answer and turn it into a verdict on your worth. That's called fragility. And fragile men either manipulate or retreat. Strong men clarify and adjust. You stop chasing what is unclear. You stop forcing what is not mutual. You stop bargaining with your dignity. You stop confusing access with connection. You stop acting like every woman is your final chance at feeling valuable. You stop. You stop. You stop. And in that stopping, something powerful happens. Your mind gets quieter. Your timing gets better. Your standards get cleaner. Your energy gets more attractive because it is no longer contaminated by panic. Then you redirect. You redirect into your body. Train. Sleep. Eat like your hormones matter. Walk like your posture matters. A dysregulated body produces a needy man faster than any bad advice ever could. You redirect into your mission. Build something. Study something. Lead something. Create something. A man with no meaningful direction will always overinvest in romance because he has no other altar. You redirect into your discipline. Keep promises to yourself. End weak habits. Clean your environment. Raise your baseline because confidence is not a mood. It is evidence. It is the memory of self-trust built over time. And you redirect into standards. This matters. Decide what kind of dynamic you're available for. Do you want confusion? Do you want breadcrumbs? Do you want half interest and emotional fog? Or do you want honesty, mutual desire, calm consistency, and actual respect? If you do not define it, you will accept anything that temporarily relieves loneliness. And that is how men end up in situationships, mixed signals, endless maybe, and fake intimacy that drains them dry. This is the part where weaker men accuse this message of being too harsh. Good. It is harsh. Reality is harsh when you've been lying to yourself. But it is also freeing. Because once you stop believing in hidden tricks, you stop handing your power to fantasy. You stop hoping the next phrase will save you. You stop living in performance. You stop shaping your entire identity around being liked. And for the first time, maybe in years, you get to stand in something solid, your own truth. That's why the real dark psychology trick is not a trick at all. It is this. You become so aligned, so self-respecting, so unattached to forcing an outcome that your questions stop feeling manipulative and start feeling masculine. Clean. Safe. Strong. That is what opens people. Not because they are controlled, but because they can feel there is no hidden agenda trying to corner them. There is just a man who knows what he wants, knows how to communicate it, and knows how to handle reality. That kind of man does not fear rejection because he is not built on approval. He values desire, but he is not enslaved by desire. He enjoys connection, but he does not abandon himself for connection. He can move slow or fast because his worth does not depend on speed. He can flirt and still be respectful. He can hold tension without rushing to discharge it. He can ask for intimacy without making intimacy carry the burden of fixing him. And let me say this clearly. Sometimes rejection is not a loss. Sometimes rejection is rescue. It saves you from fantasy. It saves you from overinvestment in a woman who was never truly aligned. It saves you from performing for months in a dynamic built on uncertainty. It gives you truth now instead of confusion later. Why would you resent that? Why would you fear what sets you free? If you are a man of self-respect, you do not hate clarity. You welcome it, even when it stings, because every honest answer makes you stronger if you use it right. Every no teaches detachment. Every maybe teaches patience and discernment. Every clear yes teaches responsibility. Every interaction becomes training, not trauma, when your identity is rooted in something deeper than approval. That is the frame. That is the reframe. Not how do I escape rejection, But how do I use truth to become unshakable? So the next time you are tempted to search for the perfect line, stop. Ask a better question. Not to her, to yourself. What am I really trying to get here? Connection or validation? Intimacy or ego relief? Clarity or control? If the answer is control, be quiet and go work on yourself. If the answer is clarity, speak simply. If the answer is connection, lead with honesty. If the answer is validation, do not make another human being pay for the emptiness you refuse to face. Ask to understand. Ask to reveal. Ask to align. Ask because you can handle the answer. Ask because you respect both people enough not to hide. Ask because you are done with childish games that make you feel clever for a moment and hollow afterward. Ask because you are building a life where your word means something and your posture stays intact, whether she says yes, no, or not now. That is manhood in this arena. Not domination, not emotional manipulation, not coldness, not endless softness either. Groundedness, self-command, respect, directness, boundaries, the ability to want deeply without losing your center, the ability to hear truth without turning it into self-hatred, the ability to walk away cleanly when alignment is not there. That is attractive. That is rare. That is earned. And when you become that man, everything changes. Your voice changes because there is less fear in it. Your eye contact changes because you are not hiding. Your timing changes because you stop forcing. Your questions change because they are no longer bait. Your standards change because you stop accepting ambiguity as a substitute for connection. Your entire presence changes because you are no longer trying to get women to tell you that you matter. You already decided that. That is the identity reset. You are not the guy hunting for loopholes around rejection. You are not the guy trying to word his way around truth. You are not the guy hoping a woman's response will finally give him the self-respect he refuses to build. You are not that man anymore. You are the man who can desire without begging, ask without trembling, hear without collapsing, and leave without losing himself. You are the answer, not the script, not the tactic, not the trick. You. Your standards, your nervous system, your honesty, your restraint, your courage, your self-respect. That is what changes the conversation. That is what changes the outcome. And even when it doesn't change the outcome, it changes you. And that matters more because a rejected man with self-respect is still powerful. A successful man without self-respect is still lost. So stop looking for ways around rejection. Build a self that can stand through it. Stop trying to manipulate comfort. Speak truth. Stop feeding fantasy. Face reality. Stop asking from fear. Ask from strength. Ask from calm. Ask from clean intention. And if the answer is no, let it refine you, not define you. If this gave you the kind of truth most people are too soft to say clearly, subscribe because you need more than tips. You need perspective. You need standards. You need reminders that pull you back to yourself. Stay here if you want clarity over confusion, self-respect over desperation, and strength that does not need performance. You belong with men who are done chasing illusions and ready to build from truth.